hours. Today we start a unit on writing research reports. I think it makes sense that while you are breaking new trails as writers, exploring new frontiers and pioneering a kind of writing, you are meanwhile researching other pioneers who are also trailblazers. So this is a unit on exploring new frontiers, as writers and as settlers. In this unit we will write as historians do, writing this time about the westward expansion. For the next few weeks, you'll be working on an information book about this topic. Has anyone ever asked you that question? If there was a fire in your home and you could only carry out a few things, what would you grab? Well, I remember when I was a kid thinking about that question. The people who went west all those years ago had a similar question, didn't they? They were probably told you can only bring a small bag full of your belongings to the new land, and with those, you are going to build a whole new life. It must have been hard for them to decide what to bring. I'm mentioning those questions because, as writers, you need to think about similar questions. As you approach the job of writing a research report on the whole gigantic topic of westward expansion, what will you bring to help with this project? What kinds of knowledge will you need? The one kind of knowledge that matters perhaps more than anything when writing a research report is knowledge about the topic, in this case, about the westward expansion. To help you bring that knowledge with you, each of you are going to get a stack of Post-it notes. In the next few minutes, write a word or phrase on each Post-it that represents stuff you know about westward expansion. You might jot down Lewis and Clark, the Oregon Trail, the Gold Rush, Native Americans. Think for just a second about all you know related to westward expansion, and then get started writing. I know each of you have tons more that you can write, and each Post-it note represents a whole lot more that you can write about later. For now, let's talk about how writers bring knowledge to information writing. I suspect that when the settlers were packing their things to get ready for their expedition, they didn't just scoop up armloads of clothes and tools. They probably spent time organizing what they were bringing. Researchers also don't just gather armloads of information and squish it all together. It wouldn't work to just scoop up all your Post-it notes and shove them into a report. Today, I want to teach you that researchers organize what they are bringing with them to their writing. When things are organized, it's easier to carry and use those things. That is true for information too. So today our target is, I can organize my knowledge on a topic by recording it and putting it into categories. So writers, once you've written lots of Post-its to yourself that represent ideas you want to bring to your writing, you will need to organize them into categories. You've been doing this work since you started writing all about books in the earlier grades. To write these books, you divided your information into subtopics, and each subtopic became a chapter in your book. To do that, you use a booklet and dedicate a page to the booklet to each subtopic. So, to get ready to write your information book, your all about westward expansion book, your job now is to set up your pages. The ones that are for each subtopic that will become a chapter. Writers organize their work as they go, and this is especially important for information writers. We'll organize the topics that I have up here, and then you'll have time to organize your Post-its on loose leaf paper in your notebook. Let me show you how to organize topics into subtopics. I have lots of different topics here. The Pony Express, the Transcontinental Railroad, Native Americans, the Gold Rush, Lewis and Clark, and the Oregon Trail. I'm going to start with exploration. Under exploration, I have a couple different subcategories, like Lewis and Clark, and along with Lewis and Clark was Sacagawea. The Oregon Trail was also a big exploration, so I'm going to put this up here and move exploration over. I could put the Pony Express all by itself over here, or I could put the Native Americans under it and talk about how the Native Americans had to communicate with people using the Pony Express. This also makes me think about how there was a lot of conflict during this time. So maybe I move both of these down and create a whole new heading called conflict, and put that above the Pony Express and Native Americans. And maybe I'm not super familiar with the Gold Rush or the Transcontinental Railroad, so those are two things that I know I have to do some more research on. Now it's your turn. You will need 4 or 5 pages of loose leaf paper or your notebook, and you will do the same work. That means you'll need to either put your Post-it note at the top of the page if it serves as the section heading, or put it further down on the page if it's not a heading, but instead a point found within the subtopic. You will definitely need to add some Post-it notes to your pages and make some new Post-it notes as you go. You might even have to make some new pages with new Post-it notes in them as you realize what you've written. That's fine. Information writers get new ideas all the time and change plans as they go. But these booklets will help you plan your draft. These are 2 examples of what your Post-it notes might look like in your notebook or on your paper. Before you get started on that, I want to let you know a bit more about how this unit will go. Once you've set up your Post-it notes and pages today, in our next writing class, you'll be ready for a flash draft. That's right. You will write a whole draft quick next writing. Writers sometimes push themselves like this very early on in the process of researching something. Your flash draft will tell you and me what you already know about this topic and about information writing about history. And your flash draft will also help you figure out the research that you still need to do, which you'll have lots of time to do later in the unit. We'll spend plenty of time developing our understanding of the topic and revising, and we'll even write new drafts within this unit. You will be amazed by how much you are going to learn and how your writing will change over the next several weeks. So today you will write many more notes on Post-its, sharing information with others or looking through books to get more information, or your iPad. And 2, create categories that account for most of your Post-it notes and help you imagine how your research report will go. You can use your pages to do that. At the end of today's session, we will staple these pages together to form your booklets, unless they're in your notebooks. Remember, writers spend time collecting and organizing information, making categories that are subtopics. Then they imagine how those subtopics could fit together into a structure. That is one way writers get started. You can begin collecting and organizing your information now. In our next writing class, you are going to write your whole report on westward expansion. This probably means that at least some of you will want to spend time in the next couple of days, and perhaps even later in school if you have a free moment, getting ready. Some of you have been asking whether you can use books on your writing, and you can, but my suggestion is that you use them tonight. You absolutely can go through books and use your iPad. I'd write these words right onto Post-it notes to help jog your memory so that you remember to include the key information that you have learned about each of these subtopics. So if you know, for example, that there were 3 waves of the gold rush and you want to record the dates for them, just jot them down and drop them into the section labeled Gold Rush. And if you want to reference a page number of a book, or if you want to use a website so that you can go tomorrow to those specific pages, you can just record them on the Post-it notes as well. Make sure that you come in ready to start drafting during our next writing class for your research report. If you forget your Post-it notes, you'll be writing without that support, so I wouldn't forget those.